Alright, we're going to be installing a oil catch can on a 2023 Dodge Charger RT. And what's going to be included is you'll have your catch can, which will look just like this. You will also be included two hoses. You'll have some hose ends. You'll have a spacer. You'll have a bolt. And you will have some couplings for the hoses. These are the tools that are going to be needed. You'll need a 3/8 ratchet, a 13mm socket, a level, and some cutters. So we'll start off by removing the engine cover and set that to the side. And now what we will do is we're going to take off this electrical harness that's clipped onto the engine block. You can see right here. So when you disconnect that or you unclip it, there's going to be a hole left and there's going to be threading that you can use. Those threads are where we are going to mount the oil catch can. So now that I've disconnected it, I will grab the oil catch can and I will put the bolt and the spacer. I forgot the spacer. Put the bolt and the spacer. There it goes. Alright, now we're going to mount it. And you always want to hand thread it in. So turn it in slowly. Once you feel like it's secure, hand tighten, then you can go ahead and grab the ratchet and then torque it down. I'm going to use the socket. It's very tight. And I'm going to try to snug it down by hand as best as I can. And you do have to have a little finesse to try to get it all the way in. Alright, so I somewhat seated it here. And we're going to go ahead and grab the ratchet. And we're going to tighten it down. And just keep tightening it down. Once you feel like it's pretty secure, what I would do here is put a level on here. And basically I just want it to be leveled. And as soon as I find the spot, then I'll torque it all the way down. So right there I feel like it's pretty balanced. So I'm going to go ahead and start torquing it down. And you always just want to make sure it's snug and about a quarter turn after. And you're pretty much good because it is aluminum housing. So you don't want to go too tight. And there it is. Alright. And now what you're going to want to do is grab your two hoses. And the long one is going to go on the inlet that goes from the engine to the oil catch can. And then the second one, which is the shorter one, is going to go from your oil catch can to the intake manifold. You're going to have to put these hose ends onto the hoses, and they act like lockers. So it locks the hose in, and you're still able to rotate it, but it's just so it won't pop out. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure I install both hoses first. And after I feel like they are set to where I want them to be, then I will cut to length. So I do the same thing on the next one, which is the inlet or the long hose. I'm going to put the locker, then I'm going to put the hose in, and right now I'm test fitting it. Now I'm going to go ahead and remove the stock hose that goes from the engine crankcase to the intake manifold. So it is a little tight. It's going to be rubber and it's probably seized up. So what you're going to want to do is get some pliers and you're going to want to turn it slightly. You don't want to tighten the pliers too much because it's plastic underneath and you could snap that little nipple. So you just want to go ahead and grab it with some pliers. Just make sure it's pretty snug on the hose, and you're going to want to turn the rubber end. That way it'll break loose and it'll come off. You just want to be very careful not to break off the plastic nipple that comes off of there. So it's definitely putting up a little bit of a fight. So you could do as I did, which I initially tried to use a flathead and try to get in between, see if it would pop off, but the hose was on too tight. So that is when I will resort to using some channel locks or pliers, and I will try to grip them, the ends, the rubber ends, and I'll try to twist them and then pull it off as I'm twisting, which it should break loose. So you'll see here, now I'm going to go ahead and put the pliers to them, and I'm going to go ahead and try to turn it, and there you go, you can see it starts wiggling, and you'll be able to pop it off like so, and go ahead and do the same thing on the next end. Go ahead and try to twist it, and as you're twisting you want to pull. Just be very careful, you don't want to break that plastic end that comes out. Go ahead and turn it, and as you're turning it, like I said, you want to gently pull on it. And I'm going to go ahead and keep trying the same method. And right here where I was having a little bit of trouble is I saw like the rubber piece had a little bit of a notch, and I wasn't sure if that notch was the same on the plastic nipple that comes out of the intake manifold, and I didn't want to damage that. So I tried not turning the pliers on it too much. I resorted back to the flathead, trying to see if I can get it under. But as you can see, it's on there really tight. So I'm going to go ahead and grab the pliers again. And I'm going to try the twisting and pull method again. Just be very careful. One thing I did notice is the notch on the rubber piece is not notched on the plastic, and I finally broke it loose. And there it is. And now that we have the original hose off, we can cut these to size. So you want it to be secure, you don't want it to be bent. So just cut it at a decent size where you feel like that's where it should be. You will reuse this rubber boot, and this rubber boot is going to go on the intake manifold to the return on the oil catch can. So you will grab the boot and you will put the coupling that was provided in the assembly kit. You will go ahead and install that onto the boot, and then you will install that onto the intake manifold, and then you'll be able to connect your hose to the coupling. Make sure to put your locker or the hose end onto the hose before you put it on the coupling, because you want it to be secure and not pop out. Like so. And obviously this is just for test fitting. I'm still going to cut it to size. Alright, so trying to see how it's going to best fit and make sure that it's secure. Alright, so now I'm going to make sure that the boot and the coupling don't come apart. And once you know that it's not going to come apart, you go ahead and seat it back. Try to make sure it's pointing where you want it to be. That way you could get a good cut on your hose. You don't want to overcut or undercut it. And they are a little bit hard, so you definitely, since it's rubber and then it has a mesh outside, definitely want to have some good cutters. Once you cut it, you put your hose end on there and you go ahead and put it on the coupling and it should be good. Make sure it's all secure so it won't pop out. And now you'll want to do the same thing to the inlet or the long hose. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to level it again. I'm going to secure it down. That way it won't have too much play as I'm trying to connect the hoses. And it's a very tight fit, so you want to be careful. You don't want to mess up the bolt head. And then now we're going to go ahead and we're going to cut the long hose to size. It is a bit tough to cut. Like I said, you want to have some good scissors or good cutters. Right here, what I'm doing is test fitting it, making sure that the end isn't damaged when I put it on. You also want to verify that the end has the locker, so put that hose end on it before you slip it on. It is going to be a tight fit, but that is because that nipple is bigger than the one that comes out of the intake manifold. So you're definitely going to have to work it a little bit, but it will go on. And as you can see, it's a little bit of a fight to get it on there. And mainly it's just a little bit hard because the fit is really snug, especially when you put the locker on there, which is good because once it's on, it's going to stay on. Alright, so right here what I'm doing is verifying the locker on the return line. You want to make sure all this stuff is really secure. You don't want it to pop out. And it's definitely going to be hard to see once you put your engine cover back on. So I'm making sure the hose ends are on there really good. I'm making sure the hoses are on and secure, that they won't pop out. So I always, after installation, I go ahead and go through it again and just verify that nothing can go wrong. It's better to do it now than to have an issue later. And like I said, the inlet is going to be the toughest one to make sure it's on all the way. And it's just because the fit is so tight. But like I said, once it's on, there's no way it's going to come off. So what I'm doing here is I'm using a pair of channel locks or the pliers, and I'm kind of using it to twist as I'm pushing it in. So the same method I used to remove it. And I'm just trying to verify that it's all the way down. Because initially it will just slide on and it looks like it's all the way in, but there's a groove at the end of the nipple. You want to make sure you're past that with the hose end or the locker. That way that flared end that it has, that's what makes sure it doesn't pop out. And as you can see, I've been working it for a while and I had to come back and forth and double check, triple check, just to ensure that it's all the way secure. And once it looks like it's secure and it feels like it's secure, then you should be good to go. You can see I'm trying to tug on it, make sure that it's not going to come off. Like I said, it's just due to the fact that it has that flared end on the nipple. So you want to make sure that that locker has seated past that end. And that lip is what creates that lock. So this is the engine cover back on. As you can see, it's secured. So this is how it is with it off. So you can see that's where we bolted it to. We initially were going to use this one, the top clip, where it's clipped onto the engine block, and we decided to actually use the bottom one. There's one right above the alternator, and that's the one that I used. It's the same thread pitch and it works the same. The only difference is that when you use the one above the alternator, you will be able to use your original engine cover.